Hello and welcome to CHATS. My name is Arvin.
And I'm Leslie.
And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Eli and Allie Baby, tools for parents on the go. It's also what we do. Today is a special episode. We're going to move away from some of the heavier COVID-19 chatter, and we want to talk more about the spirit of adventure and family outings and how to manage all that and get some of the outdoors in these trying times. Leslie, your guest today, you reconnected, right?
Yes, I'm super excited to introduce our guest for today. We were dear friends in college at the University of Texas at Austin. Go Longhorns, woohoo! And so her name is Britt Roth, and she's an amazing woman. Love her dearly. And her husband have had a variety of jobs in event planning, marketing, and animation since they got married. They had a successful Airbnb in their hometown in Austin, Texas. And after seeing a family on YouTube sell everything to live on the road, and I wonder if she's referring to the bucket list family or maybe another family, but they followed suit. And so since 2017, they began a year and a half of adventure traveling in their RV through the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And they live with their kids, Royce and Finn, and their kids are actually often seen riding ATVs, nice, around the park. And they have a 2015 Columbus Palomino bunkhouse, which is just like a massive RV. And RV life has afforded them the ability to adventure more and clean less. So they are on an exciting venture that we're going to be talking about later. That they just opened this new business that we're going to be talking about, and they also started the Knob Film Fest. So we'll be talking about that as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Britt.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, so glad to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and everything. So you are in hottest Knob.
Yeah. We are having a major heat wave. It is not normally 100 degrees here, but it's a dry heat. So it's like you're stepping out into an oven, and but at least you don't sweat like all day long. So it's not that bad. And it's beautiful here. We're in southern Utah. We're like just a few miles right above the Arizona border, just to kind of give you kind of a location. So just, 5 minutes from here, we can hop into Arizona, which is really wild.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, here in Houston, the weather is very hot and humid, but we don't have the beautiful scenery that you probably have over there.
Really amazing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Why Knob? What's in Knob for you? And we can get into your selection for the RV resort grounds and just what makes that location special to you?
So for us, Leslie mentioned that we did move from Austin, Texas. Austin, super cool town, and everybody thinks it's super cool, right? So, there's, I don't know how many millions of people live there now. And it just became like our bubble of living got smaller and smaller with the level of traffic and just all the roadblocks that are presented when more and more people move to a city. And so we were really looking for something different, and we can we'll go into like why the RV life and all of that. But what struck us with Kanab was, it's obvious that it's a small town. There's only 5,000 people here. We literally have 2 traffic lights in the entire county of Kane County. And so it really has kind of like that old school feel of a small town. People immediately, you can feel how genuine everyone is. And that was just a real change from where we had been living. And the really cool thing about Kanab is that despite it being just a population of 5,000 people, millions, about 4 to 5 million people pass through here every year, because it is considered the Golden Circle or the Grand Circle, however people call it different ways. But we are about 60 to 90 miles in the middle of the north rim of the Grand Canyon, Lake Powell, Bryce Canyon, and the Zion National Park, as well as so many other, like Arches and Moab and Monument Valley and Canyonlands. And I mean, you think of all the parks, you name it, we're right here. And we're proximity to California, 7 hours, Colorado, 7 hours. I mean, it really just kind of like checked so many boxes off for us. About like 45 festivals that happen here every year. So we're like small town living, but with like so many things to do. And it really just, it floated our boat. And so that's why we chose it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us about what inspired you to sell everything, get on the road, and just go travel.
Yeah. I love this story. I'm so proud of this story because it is such a scary thing, a scary premise for anyone to kind of think about, is to really go against the norm. But that's kind of how I've always lived my life. There's a picture there of our RV there at Jordanelle State Park, which is kind of just outside of Utah.
Nice.
Amazing park. That was our last RV. That's us there in Banff National Park at Lake Louise. There's the cute kiddos. It's cool to see them so young because we left when they were, my son was 1 and my daughter was 3. And my son learned to walk on our RV, which is really
like on top, on the roof?
Good balance, right? Because, when you're driving in the RV, it's like...
So, we, at the time we had already had my daughter, and I was pregnant with my son, and my husband, I was a stay-at-home mom with my daughter, and my husband was a college professor. And long story short, they shut down his department, and they just fired him on the spot. I was pregnant, going to give birth in a couple months, and we lost our insurance. And from that point on, it really motivated us to never work for someone ever again. The fact that you can give someone so much of your time and your energy, and you spend so much of your time away from your family for this company, that then they can just go around and just do something like that. Very heartless, felt really emotional, very sad. But that happens all the time. And until you decide if it's something that moves you so much to change the course of your life, you're just going to be in the same position. And we just really didn't want to find ourselves in that position anymore. Mm-hmm. So, I had seen a YouTube video of a family. It's called Less Junk, More Journey, actually. And they're very super popular now. And they just really, I saw that and I thought it was super awesome. And, about 5 years before we had my daughter at the time, my husband and I rented an RV. And during his summer break from school, we traveled for 3 weeks. We did up the Pacific Coast Highway, up into Canada, came back around, saw Mount Rushmore. I mean, it was like the coolest thing we had ever done. And we've been some really cool places, in Europe and stuff, but we just always came back to how awesome RVing was for us. And so, one day after seeing that video, one day we were sitting and talking about all of the stuff we had to do around our house, all the chores and mowing the grass and bills and all of that. And I was just kind of fed up with it. Being a parent, having a home, being a homeowner, having 2 kids. You guys get it. The list of to-dos is never ending. And you just want to play with your kids and go outside and enjoy all of the fruits of your labor, but your list just is exhaustive. And I was just so overwhelmed. And so we're sitting, and I said to my husband, let's just sell everything and move into an RV. And
And what did he say?
He was like, really? He's like totally, luckily we're on the same page as far as our lust for adventure. I'm a little bit more of a planner when it comes to adventure, though. He's more spontaneous, and he thought it was an awesome idea. And 6 months later, we had our house up for rent, and we had a family coming in to rent it for quite a bit of money in Austin, Texas. We're lucky that we could get a pretty high rental rate for it. Nice. We sold our other vehicles. We bought an F-250. We bought a brand new RV, fifth wheel. We had no idea what we were doing, and and we didn't know how long we were going to be gone for. We knew we had our house rented out for a year, and we left. Like it was the scariest feeling ever.
Yeah.
We questioned ourselves as we were packing up, and we remodeled our whole RV, and we were like, what are we doing? So it was so exciting, and the thought of it, we sold 90% of our things. We put the rest into storage. We grabbed our kids, our 3 dogs, and we just left. And we had a little bit of an itinerary, but
a little bit of planning in between you and your husband.
Yeah.
Can we go back a little bit? Like, what was your process of selecting the fifth wheel versus like a Class B or a Class A RV or a Class B?
That's an awesome question. We had no idea. We just had our experience with the RV that we had rented prior, and it was one of the driving ones, right? So that was considered a C class. It's a driver, and it's a little bit bigger. So we went to an RV show in Austin, which gives you a really awesome feel for all the different kinds of spaces and things you can drive or pull. We felt like for us, our dream was like an A class, which is those massive, beautiful homes on wheels.
Yeah.
But we just, we didn't have like $100,000 to spare, right? And so we felt like a fifth wheel really afforded us the amount of space we wanted, because you can get a bunkhouse with a fifth wheel, which means a bunkhouse.
Oh, like, bunkhouse. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I apologize because out of the two of you, so our share that he also owns an RV. So y'all are talking this terminology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay.
Bunkhouse. Maybe Arvin, what kind of RV do you have?
We got a Class B. It's on a Dodge ProMaster chassis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just for mobility.
Yeah. See, I think if we were just going on just like shorter mini vacations in it, we would have gone with something smaller. Yeah. But knowing that, right, this was going to be our home, coming from a 2,000 square foot home, wrapped up into like 300 square feet. We really wanted a space for the kids. So a bunkhouse is a room in the back, and they have their own room, which was awesome. And my son at the time was a baby, so we custom built a crib for him in the top bunk with like a little gate, so it was like a little baby jail, honestly.
Cool. Yeah.
Couldn't get out, which is so great for nap time. So that's a picture of in that bunk out in the very back. That's their room. And then in the middle there, that's the living room. And then the front over the cab of the truck, that was our bedroom.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, we remodeled it to really make it our own. We took out all the furniture that comes in really like standard in an RV. And we put in like our own IKEA stuff so that it was just felt more comfortable and more livable. So that's
square feet is it?
What?
How many square feet is it?
I think it was a 36 foot. So that multiplied by an average of 10 feet across, 12 feet across or so, you're looking at like maybe 400 square feet or so. And it really does, it's kind of crazy that it feels very big when you're on it. And our ceilings were really tall, about 12-foot ceilings, which makes all the difference.
Wow. That's like a mansion up in there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Compared to the tiny houses that you see on HGTV.
Yeah. It was amazing what you can cram into such a small space, you know? And
Yeah.
fifth wheels really give you a lot of bang for your buck too. So we bought that used, which was only like a year old, like it was new, but no one had lived in it. We bought it off a lot. But my recommendation, anyone interested in it, don't buy brand new. You can just get the same model, and like, you know, it was 2021, then you buy your 2020 version,
Yeah.
and you bought it for like half the price, you know, so like
Awesome.
around 35,000. Yeah.
No way, that's super affordable, and it's like has all the space. It's really weird because Class B RVs are less for the buck, like
Yeah.
literally. So I don't know. It's kind of like those fancy fridges that are small, but they cost more. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally.
Interesting. Is it because
So-
it's small and compact, and so people want that more, or maybe there's more demand for it?
I don't know. I just think it's like they charge for it because they can. I mean, literally all the materials listed doesn't really add up to, the high dozens, up to 100,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like what they can do, what they can get away with.
Yeah, and also what you can get into. Like, it's very attractive to know you can literally go anywhere with what you have. How long is yours?
It's a 20-footer.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can go anywhere, right? You can stay at any park, but unfortunately at like national parks, there are some like limits, or
Yeah.
parks, there's limits of how big you can be, and like maybe camping on BLM land, which is the Bureau of Land Management land, which is really, you can't go like necessarily. We really like could only pick and choose those choices because we were so big.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of like BLM camping, ever since like Black Lives Matter came out, like people are like, "What? You're going to Black Lives Matter camping?"
I know.
Like, no. So I have to like say the whole thing out for them now. Yeah, it's Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm learning so much about just RV life. I mean, it's so inspiring. I mean, it makes me want to just get out there more with our family and everything. And yeah, question. So for your kids, do you homeschool them? Like, how does all of the schooling aspect work for them?
Well, so, we really picked a great time to do what we did because they were not in school. In my opinion, whether they're school age or not, like getting out in the world and adventuring is better than any schooling that anybody can provide. In my opinion. But unfortunately, it's necessary, right, to school your kids in some fashion. We dove in living full time, not only like on the road, but also with our children, right? We had no babysitter option. We had no parents nearby. We chose to leave all of that. And so at this point, to say that I'm super excited that my daughter is starting a full day of school for however long that is going to last, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Like, we moved here and they, my daughter was 5 last year, so she was able to go to kindergarten, and it was a wonderful experience. We met a lot of friends along the way, so they did get a lot of socializing. We were hiking out and about, but honestly, for my husband and I, we're ready a little bit. We were ready for more of the structure. The structure scares me, but it's just a nice little reprieve because my husband and I have a lot of things that we want to accomplish personally. And so right now school starts tomorrow and my daughter's in first grade, and we'll see how that goes with what's happening. And my son will start preschool in a couple weeks, and we'll see how it all goes. I'm not opposed to homeschool. It definitely affords you that flexible lifestyle, but we're home based now. We have a business here now. I think the moms and the parents who dive into homeschool, I think it's super awesome because it offers you that amazing flexibility, and you just spend the time doing what you absolutely have to do, and then you get to go out and explore, which really is what life is all about.
Yeah. A question on the kids and resilience. Do you think that the active adventurous nomadic lifestyle set them up for success with everything that's going on with schooling, the way school has changed for them, or the lifestyle in general? Has that sort of prepped them for random like things that pop up?
Yeah, I do. Obviously there's no way to know because we didn't, in those few years they were on the RV, right? That was just our whole experience in life. But, when you decide to make such a life change like that, and you go from a giant house with all the comforts of home to an RV, you really learn, and for us too, my husband and I too, you really learn what you can live without and your very, very basic needs that you need, right? You need food, you need shelter, and you need water, and you can live without air conditioning and heat, There are times when, literally on our very first day, because this is how novice we were, we didn't know how to turn our water heater on. And so our kids had to take, for the first week or so, we couldn't get anybody that knew our particular model, and it was just a little hard to navigate and troubleshoot. And so my kids had to take cold showers and baths, and they just had to deal with it, and I felt awful as a parent. But that's also, it's growth, right? So, and so I think that it really allowed them to stretch in terms of what was necessary for them, and how can they play with when mom and dad are setting up the RV and we're plugging in and we're setting up our home in a new place every few days. Well, what can you do? You're not going to play on a tablet or anything because you may not have internet, and that's just not what we're going to do. So, they got into their routine. They're going to grab buckets and they're going to find rocks and they're going to dig in the sand and they're going to take the dogs around the park, or, whatever it is. They're going to play with the stroller, whatever they were capable of doing.
Keep themselves busy and play.
Yeah. So I think that it really did have them appreciate the finer things in life when we had it, right? When we got into a hotel, even now, because we don't have a bathtub, they're like, "Oh my God, a bathtub!"
You appreciate the little things.
Yeah,
hot water. Appreciation, dude.
Right, it's good, and and it was also a process for us to learn. When we got our first flat tire, we were not prepared at all. And we had to wait outside of Moab in 100-degree weather for about 5 hours on a Sunday for someone to come find us and fix our tire for us. And that's just kids had to just wait in the car, and we used a whole tank of gas with the air conditioning on running. And, these are things that it's easy to get really mad and ruin your entire day. And I think when you're at home and things are easy, it's easier for you to get upset because you have all the comforts of home. But when you really are down to the basics, you have to really find it within yourself to say, okay, I'm healthy, we're safe. How can we make this into a positive experience and learn something for the future, right? So the next time, we got everything we needed so that we can change our own tire. And the next time when it happened, we were first just into Mexico, and on a busy highway, and 18-wheelers were flying by, and my husband got out there, we popped a tire, got out there, cool and calm, we learned from last time. This is just a positive experience. It's happening for you.
Yeah.
There's a reason this is happening. There's no reason to get yourself all worked up, because there's nothing you can change about it, and just turn all those crappy experiences, right, that you would normally be like, oh my God, this freaking sucks.
Yeah.
Into hey guys, let's look where we are and let's change a tire. We're learning something new, And so I think that's definitely something that we've taken with us. The kids have taken with us, that, the only person responsible for your happiness is you, and you can be upset if you want, but you're just going to totally ruin your day. So, that's what life is all about. It's just learning and growing, and it's all happening for you.
Yeah, I really like turning those tumultuous, trying moments into, being able to overcome adversity as a group. So anecdotally, there was a time when we were going up a mountain and our gas light turned on, and we were all like really worried, and it was pretty stressful. And then we got to the top of the mountain, and we just like coasted all the way down until we hit a gas station. And that was like that's no 5-hour wait in the sun waiting for a spare tire, but like it really brings it. We look back at that fondly.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things, it's like, oh wow, we overcame that, and the kids are like, hey, remember the time we almost ran out of gas? So it's really cute.
Yeah, I agree. Like I have fond memories of being stuck on the mountain. Like we every year during Christmas, we take ski trips out to New Mexico, and there have been many times where we've either gotten stuck in the snow or we've had some sort of issue with the van. And those are the times that, you really remember, and it teaches you life experiences. And so I can't imagine being able to do that 24/7 as a kid, and what it has taught your kids, like Arvin said, with resilience and just stepping out of your comfort zone and being able to be out there and learn things that other kids may not be able to experience.
Like boredom.
Yeah.
That's really important. I always harp on that,
No, boredom is just a state of mind. Like that's your choice. Right? If you have a choice to be bored, or you have a choice to get outside and figure out something to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Amber says, love you, Britt.
Yeah, love you too, Amber. Thanks so much. That's so cool.
Can we, is it safe to switch topics for a sec? So we talked about the growing pains of getting into the lifestyle and learning the lifestyle.
Yeah.
On the other side, there's the facilitation of the lifestyle. And in our travels, we've met a lot of, it's mostly husband and wife duos, some solo travelers. We don't meet a ton of people with kids. So the question that's always lurking in the background is, how are you making this happen financially? Like, it's kind of like this exchange of like, what's your bread and butter? Oh, I do. And and I suspect you guys are in both, maybe a hybrid camp of, we had a property, we sold it, we're renting it now, and that's sustaining us. And then there's like the digital nomad lifestyle where I create digital assets, and I just have all I need is internet and a laptop and power, and I'm good. So I mean, how is this possible permanently for y'all?
So I would always, even though we were doing it, I would always look at other people like, how are they doing this? Also, so we rented out our house in Austin, and we were able to get $3,000 a month for our home.
Nice.
Which is like a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
And then, my grandparents did leave us with some money when they passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the kind of person, and my husband too, that, we don't really need to like accumulate stuff. We want to spend money on adventures, and we felt like, whatever our nut was, because we had no idea what it was going to look like on the road. We knew what it was at home. We didn't know what it looked like when we went off the road, like how much gas was going to be and how much RV parks were. We had no idea. So we said that, whatever more we needed, we would pull from that money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also build websites for people. And so that was like kind of a little bit of extra money coming in.
Sorry, it's Shay. She takes care of Eli and Allie.
Hi, Shay.
And so, that's just kind of how we did it. And
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, like you're no longer paying all the bills, right? You don't have homeowners insurance, and you know, you kind of like eliminate so much. And then you just decide, you know, there's so many places you can stay for free. And so you really balance your budget based upon that. The longer you stay somewhere, the less gas you're using, and you just find you really become, you know, you're a tourist in a place, but the longer you spend there, you become fairly like a local, right? You go to the library and do all those free things. You look at all the free things you can do and explore, and hikes are free.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we did. And then, of course, when we went back and sold our home, that is like we took a chunk and continued our adventures. We decided we wanted to end our big RV trip, or our big life adventure with a 5-week tour in Europe. And so we did that as well from the money that we earned from the sale of our home.
Yeah.
Nice. Knowing you, but you are so creative, and you've just always, you know, been able to be an inspiration to a lot of people with the things that you're doing. So I appreciate that. And I always see your posts on Facebook and all the different things that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're involved in a lot.
We'd love to jump into that. I mean, on one hand, I love the messaging of where like you're letting go of that homeowners association and all the other tertiary stuff that kind of crowds you mentally and financially. So with like anxiety being an obsession of something in the future, and depression being an obsession with something in the past, does what you're worried about like significantly just, does it turn into the present? Like, do you worry about the future or the past, or is the family focused on like what's at hand today?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a, I've always wanted to, since we started this adventure, I really do. I mean, maybe at some point I will write a book, because I think I get like sad for people who feel like there is only one way to live, right? And I was so overwhelmed and so stressed about that typical American lifestyle that we think we have to lead. And there is no one way to live. And I think really, especially in the light of COVID, I think everyone's kind of like blinders are off, like, I don't have to work in an office. I can work from home, and I can travel, and I don't have to be near people. I mean, RV living is like way high right now, which is awesome for us. You know, because people see how life can switch like that, and how scary it can be if you are not set up financially, for one, that it can just be pulled right out from under you. And it's a shame that has happened to many people, but it's the reality that anything can happen at any moment, at any time. And we just wanted to take ourselves out of that, you know, and so living in a city, as much as it's cool, and you know, it's very cool, like you have lots of things going on, everything's at your fingertips, restaurants galore, movie theaters, whatever you want, you have. There is such a level of anxiety and stress that you're literally working just to pay for your basics. And I have a hard time seeing people live like that, when I know there's another way. Only if you can change your mindset, of course, and look and find that if you want to, right? I have a lot of family members. A lot of my husband's family live in New York City and LA, and they're just like these balls of stress. And I just don't understand why anyone wants to live like that, because we all know that stress leads to so many negative things about your body and health, and the impact on your family and all of that. So, you know, getting out of that, choosing a place where, I mean, like life is like so amazing. Like you literally can go out of your house in your pajamas and nobody cares. And I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
Cover makeup and it doesn't matter what I look like. And that's just the nature of where I've chosen to live. If I lived in Austin, I definitely would never do that, you know, because it's just, right, the societal pressures of looking a certain way in a certain place. And I choose not to be like that. And I definitely we were already like thinking about wait lists for preschool. And I'm like, this is so fucked up.
Yeah. Like the system, like this thing, the societal construct.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And I do not want my kids to grow up like that. I don't want them to be judged for the way they look, what they wear, what car they drive. I mean, we have a beat down Land Rover that you have to start like a couple different times. And we got here for off-roading and you know, I just love it because it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter. And here, what matters is like the kind of person you are, the good, you know, the good in you.
Right.
And the fact that we are able to do any kind of business and put on any kind of event and people are open to that. Like my future feels very exciting because it's such a welcoming, low pressure, low stress place that I've chosen. And literally the red rocks here, like everyone kind of says that there is such an energy that you get from them. And it's true, you know, nature has energy and there's certain minerals and stuff in dirt and clay and rocks, right, that give off certain energy that raise your vibration. And I'm into that a little bit. My mom is very into that, but that's also just part of choosing where you want to live. You know, you've got 2 traffic lights. So, you know, the traffic here, you're like waiting when it's like high season, your traffic is like, there's 5 cars at this light. Oh my God, I'm waiting here for like a minute. This is crazy.
Your priorities are so different. The way your lifestyle is set up is so different from the construct that we grew up in. Like you said, the American dream or whatever that is now. And you and your husband are obviously doers and makers and creators. So let's just talk about this RV park that you just decided to create out of
Tell us about it. And
what's the deal with that?
What is the story behind the name Dark Sky, which I can kind of assume, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. Well, so the name behind it is we're one of the very few communities in America that is named like a dark sky community, which means all of the businesses in the city have to have like downward lighting and dark sky approved lighting.
Oh, it's light pollution.
Yeah, light pollution, right.
Oh, okay. I was not assuming that. I was assuming it was just, you know, dark, beautiful sky in the scenery.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, we're just 3 miles out of town, so not far at all. But the Milky Way, I mean, many people in the world have never seen the Milky Way, or in the United States, never seen it. It runs right over our property,
nice.
night, you know, and people have stayed here, have already captured like epic photos of it just with like their regular cameras, which is really, really cool. So, you know, so that's the premise of it. And we really try to, you know, our property, I'll talk about how we came to be, but the point of us, because there are several RV parks in town, but we are on 40 acres, and right now we've only developed about 20 of them. And the goal for us is keeping it as natural as possible. So we want to really give the feeling for everyone who stays here that you're kind of like boondocking, which it means you're out in the middle of nowhere, but we have full hookups for you, which means you have air conditioning, you know, you have power, you have water, and you're hooked up to a sewer system. So you have all your comforts of home. And
is that not typical in like a normal RV?
It is typical.
Okay.
It's typical. But like we're kind of like melding, if you were to stay like at a national park, how beautiful that usually is with staying at an RV park. So typical RV parks, on average, they're like parking lots. So you're right next to each other. You're most of the time you're looking at the other person's like septic sewer.
Yeah.
Not like we stayed at one in town before we opened ours, where we could hear the other RV people. We could hear them coughing. Like that's not my
and other things maybe.
That's classic RV, RV cramped,
Cramped, yeah, and that's definitely for someone who build an RV park. That's definitely the more budget way to go, right? You cram them all in, you get as much money as possible in a small spot. Our RV sites are 75 feet apart from the next one. We only have 18 spots. And we have like spa-like bathrooms with indoor and outdoor showers, heated flooring, dimmable lighting, laundry on site. We have a dog park. We have a kids dig pit where they can, shade sail and they can dig for treasures. And
do you have trailheads available on site? Like, can you park? Okay, you got to drive somewhere to go hiking. Okay.
Which things are not very far. We have about 100 trails in town, so you're just like 5 minutes away from hundreds of things to do. And then we're right down the road from 2 different tour companies that can take you out to like really famous places.
I had to bring up. Sorry, it's probably not optimized with the screen, but
it's okay. But that kind of gives you an idea. Like that's one spot, and you don't see anybody else. So it's pretty cool. We also have 10 camping sites. It really feels like you're out in the middle of nowhere, but yet you're only, a handful of miles from town. So that's what we're going for, is really this like luxe kind of feel that we've never, in our year and a half of traveling, we've never been able to experience. And it was just kind of surprising for us. And that's the motivation of why we wanted to do an RV park our way,
Yeah, that's a really cool business model. And so you're not crowded. Are you having to, is it like more of a premium experience where since you're curating the experience for only a few and not like sardines, it's a little bit more on the premium side for the stay?
Like price wise, are you saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we really want to be competitive because we just opened this weekend.
Yes, congratulations, by the way.
I'm already planning my trip. It's 8 hours away.
Yay! Awesome. We're $50 a night for an RV site, which is very comparable to everybody else, especially the fact that you get so much more, I mean, but also, if you love to be right next to someone, like some people do, or you want to be on concrete, which some people do, we're just not the match for you. It's where you put out what you will attract. So we're attracting the right people. And that's, that everything will come to us. And it's just been a wonderful experience so far.
Yeah. Have you had a lot of visitors since you've opened?
Yeah, we've had five people already, which is really cool.
Nice.
So 5 RVs, and then we had a tenter, and it's just really such a wild experience because we live on site. And so for the last couple years, we've been developing this for 2 years, and we've lived here for like 6 months now, when like everything was ready and our pads were ready and utilities. And it's just weird to now share the park with people, even though everyone is like so far away from us. It's just like a neat feeling to know you open your door. And my most favorite thing at any RV park at night is seeing all the lights on inside a camper, and it's so dark out, but everyone's lights are on, and just like that feeling that everyone has their own special home. And so last night, my husband and I went out, and just seeing like people are enjoying their time here and they're living their lives at our park. It's something that we created for them. It's just a really wild experience. It's really cool.
So how are Royce and Finn enjoying it? Are they kind of helping out and getting to enjoy the scenery as well?
Yeah. So they love it. They, like umpteen places that they can like dig. They love digging. Kids love digging in dirt and sand and moving rocks. And so that's like in the terrace that we have where people can come and just hang out. My kids like to bring their scooters, and they'll just like scooter around the terrace while we're cleaning and working. And they love to like spray the tables and wipe them down. And my daughter, we have a golf cart, and she is like such an awesome driver. We used to practice driving our trucks. We would sit in the seat, and she would sit on us, and we'd drive our loop, and she would, steer. And we kind of realized she was pretty good. So once we got the golf cart, my husband made her a little foot pedal. So it was awesome.
How old is she?
She's 6.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Totally, like, she's such a good driver, and she's very safe. And so my mom and I the other day were doing something down at the loop, and we needed some things, and we're like, look, if you want to go in the golf cart, because they were down with us, you want to take Finn, and you can go around the loop and go pick up this and this from the house and come back, and she's great at it. She's very responsible. I think it gives her a sense of being part of the team and that we trust her. And so
they have a lot of activities available to them that 6-year-olds don't.
Yeah.
It's a different type of upbringing.
A totally different type of upbringing. Yeah. I mean, I think it's an awesome one. I mean, they certainly, they'll go to friends' houses, and they talk about wanting to have a house, and being able to run like across a house would be cool.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, one day, this isn't going to be a forever thing in an RV. But when your friends come here, they think it's so cool that you live in a bunk, and then you have your own bathroom.
About 40 acres of a house.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Like, yeah, we hung out with one of the campers here, and we went down with their daughter to the dig pit, and her daughter was kind of telling my kids, like, oh, you run down this road, and then you're going to take this little, the rusty bucket trail to the dig pit, which was so cool. We created all of this, right? And then her mom was like, honey, this is their home, and they know exactly what they're doing and where they're going. And it was just it's really neat. Like, it's neat that the kids, like, all of this is their home. And what kind of cool upbringing is this? It's like how I grew up, where half the time they're naked and they have no shoes on, and they're just running, and they're dirty, and it's just awesome,
Yeah.
That is so awesome. I mean, what are some of the values that you've seen them just, build as they've been growing up through these adventures that you've been having?
Definitely a sense of adventure, that was really important to us, to not feel like they could. I mean, they definitely both have tablets, and they love their tablets, right? And it's a tool, not gonna lie, it's a tool for me to be able to have some downtime and be able to work, and they're basically being monitored what they're playing and watching and all of that. But to be able to say, hey guys, let's put down our tablets, let's go outside, I don't have to fight them on it, to know that I really don't. I know there's a lot of research out there about monitoring time and being so strict about it. And I have approached it very differently, that, because I feel like, you always hear these kind of anecdotes, and this is how I grew up with drinking. Whatever your thoughts are about it, my parents were in a very lax household, and I was able to have a sip as a kid, and it wasn't like this big thing, right? Oh my God, right. So when I get to college, I mean, I think Leslie, I was not a partier in the least. I sort of had to be dragged out for my 21st birthday. I've been drunk like 2 times. Like, I don't really care for it.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of how I'm trying to approach it, and testing the waters for tablets, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not so strict about it. It's not that big of a deal. And so when it's time to put them down, it's not a fight. It's cool. They plug them in, and we're moving on to the next thing,
Yeah.
So that's sort of that value of like appreciating those awesome things like tablets, but also going outside and appreciating that this is our space. Let's make it beautiful. Let's work together. You know, my daughter, I give her 50 cents to take down the laundry from the laundry line because we don't have a fire. You know, so yeah, that kind of stuff is awesome.
I like the team ethic that you're cultivating, where you know, the kids enjoy spraying down the tables and wiping them, and it's all for it reminds me of the metaphor of like you're on a ship and everyone has their duty to like keep the ship, you know, in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
So the contribution is a big thing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's, you know, they don't want to do chores, and that's cool, but find something else to do, you know, like we got to do some stuff because this is our business, and we're, you know, having people here, and find something else to do.
Yeah.
You know, play with your toys. I always say they have so many toys, but of course we live in an RV, so that so many is probably very little for other people, but yeah, you know, but it's enough. You give a kid a cardboard box and they're like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I think it's going to teach them so many great things in life, and just about business, and, you know, maybe they'll start up their own family business or continue the family business. So that'll be exciting to see, you know, what they end up venturing out to do when they get older.
Well, we're really encouraging. I think my daughter and son need to be a little bit older, but I would love, they have their own, my brother-in-law got them these little ATVs, which are quite powerful tools. My son is kind of afraid to do it because, I mean, I sit on it and I like go. It goes 8 miles per hour. It's like a legit machine.
Yeah.
And you can hook up, we have this like caddy that can carry rocks, and you can put things in it. And my daughter hooks it up to the back of her ATV with this big clip, and she takes our trash out for us. And I would love, as they get a little older, to offer like trash concierge around the park.
Nice.
Like put a little tip jar and leave your trash out, and they can come and pick it up and start their own business and work towards whatever things they want to earn money for. So yeah, I'm just like,
cool. Yeah. What's useful? What do people need, and how can they fill a need with the environment that they're in? It's kind of like just solving problems.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was listening to a podcast, and they were saying that kids who grow up doing chores or, you know, doing like a part-time job, they learn that grit early in life and how to really be a self-starter on their own.
Yeah, it's such a great skill, and especially as I feel like the world moves in such a different way, you know, like a lot of people are doing so much online now, and it's encouraged to start your own thing, and like the world looks so different than when we graduated.
Yeah.
You know,
with COVID, it's even more accelerated. I was talking to a financial planner a few days ago, and she's like, yeah, the new 401k is being an entrepreneur. And that was like, I've never heard anyone speak like that. I'm like, interesting. That is, you just have to start your own thing and grow it. So, it's, you know, instead of like contributing to whatever savings, you know, fund, it's like invest in yourself, invest in something that you're trying to grow. And let's assume your kids here's a scenario, your kids they're doing something productive, so mommy and daddy can work.
Yeah.
What's going on with, you know, other than the new RV resort venture, what else is worth mentioning that you're putting your energy into?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. These are great questions. So my husband started with a partner of his. He started an online creative agency. So it's video production mainly. So his background in animation and film really like lend itself to this really cool business venture. So they make commercials, and it's a lot of like social media video content, because that's like one of the #1 ways to catch people's attention. And so that's what he does. It's, you know, it's a startup, and so there's a handful of hours each day where he's working on something. And so that's a really creative thing. Right now they're making this really neat commercial for this subscription box called LitJoy, and it's just like the classic books that are coming out, like Harry Potter and the Beatrice Potter kind of stuff. And so they made a little video, it's a couple minutes that I guess this company will release socially to tell them about, for 12 months what books you'll receive in this subscription box. So that's just an example of the kinds of things that they do. So that's really neat and keeps them creative. And I make websites for people and do a lot of local marketing here, specifically for a realtor here who actually moved from Austin, Texas to Kanab. And our realtor, she helped us find this location. So that's a really neat thing for me to be able to give back to the community.
That's really neat. Like you're adapting to your environment and community, and you're filling needs. You're symbiotically coexisting.
Yeah, it is cool. It is, and it's a community that just kind of welcomes you to whatever you want to do. Which is why when we first discovered Kanab, we realized that it was considered it's called Little Hollywood. So thousands and thousands of movies have been filmed here, specifically Westerns, but because of the landscape. But like Apple does commercials here, Nike. There's like music videos that are filmed here.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's just a breeding ground for film, which is so cool. You know, the newest Westworld with like James Marsden, and have you guys seen that? It was like on maybe Showtime or something like that. I don't know.
When they got into the real world, I kind of stopped.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They filmed it right here at the Coral Pink Sand Dune. So even before we lived here, we went out there to camp there, and there was like all these barricades. We had no idea what was going on, and like, I'm so sorry, we're closed for a movie shoot. It was like Westworld was being filmed. It was so cool. Oh. Like this tiny town, and it attracts so many big budget kinds of things like that. So and I were really shocked that there wasn't a real traditional kind of film festival here. They have a little guerrilla film fest that they do, like a 3-day thing where you come in and you shoot a film over 24 hours and then they show it. So we started a film festival that's a 3-day event, and for like 6 months we collect film submissions from all over the world, and then people come into town and we throw lots of cool parties and we show movies, of course, and then this past year is our 2nd year doing it. So we literally lived here for like 6 months and we had our first one.
Cool. Looks like we have a fan too, Ron Thomas.
Oh, Ron! Hey.
We love Cannot Feel Good.
They were one of our sponsors. They just started a really cool business. They moved from Florida. I mean, these are also great entrepreneurs, a great place to start a business. They have a really cool art space where you come in and you make like really neat artwork, and so they're super cool too. They're friends of ours, and he's also an adventure guide too. So we started the film fest. It was super successful. Like even the 2nd year in COVID, we had to move the date a couple times, but we like doubled our submissions, we doubled our attendance, and it's just a really fun time. And it speaks to, I love putting on events, and my husband is, film background, and it's just
a perfect mesh.
It's a perfect mesh, yeah. And we just love to create things that people can come and enjoy,
Yeah. And are you using your resort as just a gathering hub?
Well, it wasn't open yet, and so for sure next year we're definitely planning on doing maybe some outdoor movies here. We have this big like blow up 12-foot outdoor screen, which would be really cool to have movies and a little like cocktail hour or something like that. Private party, just for the filmmakers. So yeah, we're definitely going to utilize this. Is not only is it an RV park, but it's really to be a platform for events, where you can come and do all kinds of cool things like kids' birthday parties or get married here, or retreats. All kinds of retreats happen here. So, that's our eventual goal for the campground, because we have a lot more acreage that we have not developed yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you can totally grow into it and build out the community.
Yeah.
So that's April, May, is that right?
Yeah, right. Next year is April 29th to May 2nd. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the kids know too, like, you know, the film fest, they know where we have a really beautiful new conference space downtown and like state of the art projectors and sound. And my son the other day was like, Mom, that's where the film fest was. And so they're like getting used to like our other endeavors that we have, because for those 4 days, we don't really see them at all because it's not totally kid friendly.
Sure.
But they come and they help set up the room and they play, and, you know, they're just along from the ride. And, you know, I'm hoping they're learning something from us.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
And when they get to graduate into attending, that'll be a big deal for them too. And they earn that, you know?
Yes.
So I guess we can close this out. We want to be sensitive of your time, Britt. For anyone who's interested in doing what you're doing, like what would you say to them if some people are on the fence of maybe not as drastic as like just selling everything and taking off, but like if they're interested in the lifestyle,
in the RV lifestyle, or like just minimal living?
Minimal living, RV, I think it all goes hand in hand. And you know, kind of just questioning your position and setup in life. And how do you encourage someone like that?
Well, I think that you know, certainly if you're in a relationship, you have a family, you know, these are decisions, these are big, huge decisions that you certainly want to be on the same page with your partner on, right? I know a lot of people feel like having children and they're in school, that really stops people from doing these kinds of big things. But kids are resilient, and as long as they're with you, they're cool. You know, they'll figure it out. And if you're willing to put in the work for homeschool and that kind of thing, then those are really tiny details that I believe you don't even have to worry about. You know, these are like life skills that and really allows your children to see you in a different light. That like, if you are not happy with where you are, it doesn't mean you're stuck. There are other ways to live, and there are other ways. There are ways to solve your problems, whatever they may be. And if you feel stuck, there's just other ways to live, you know? And so if you feel unhealthy, you feel sad, you feel whatever, then I definitely encourage, I know for us, minimizing our responsibilities in life was like totally key. You know, I have a tiny space to clean. I don't have an insurmountable amount of bills that really felt like a lot, and especially when my husband lost his job, that feels very scary. And so, you know, write down all the pros and all the cons of whatever life is happening to you right now. And just, you know, it doesn't have to mean that you have to make giant drastic changes, but hit up a few of those every few months and see how you can eliminate those stressors, because there's other ways to live than being, you know, full of anxiety and full of stress. So for us, it was selling everything and totally changing the trajectory of our lives. And if we didn't, to be honest, you know, maybe we would have come up with something because that's our spirit, but we probably would have still been in the same house because we wouldn't have been able to afford anything else in Austin. You know, we would have been in a neighborhood of people who never talked to one another. And we've just, you know, my husband would have lost his job. Obviously, we would have figured something out, but it was a scary premise. And in COVID, I'm damn glad I'm not in a city. It's like it doesn't even exist out here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so for those reasons, there are other ways. There are other ways for people to live. And I don't know, I mean, if you're, and also you have to kind of look within yourself. Is it very important for you to go to the coolest, newest restaurant, to go see movies all the time? Like, what are your priorities? Because if those questions, the answers to those questions are yes, then perhaps moving out of a city or, you know, and simplifying your life is not the answer for you. For me, I don't really care that I have a Target an hour and a half away. You know, that's the closest or a Walmart is an hour away. Like those are the closest pieces of reality. And you know, and that's with me. Like I have Amazon Prime. I'm good.
Yes, I was gonna say, does Amazon deliver these?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's all you need, really.
Everything's online now. You don't even need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's really like looking at your lifestyle and what are you willing to live without? What are you not willing to live without? Are you willing to change your entire life? Are you willing to uproot your children? Is that okay with you? Can you make money in another way? You know, could you sell your home and use that money to traject you into something greater? You know, I mean, this life is so awesome. Like I've always said I wanted to own my own business and travel for a living, really. And that's what I kind of feel like I'm doing now. Like my job is to clean 2 bathrooms every day.
Yeah.
You know, like that's my work and check people in. And I've created the life that I wanted for myself. And, you know, if you have any of those beliefs of like whatever you put out will become your reality, highly recommend that you hop on board with that kind of thinking. Because it is scientifically true in the way I see things. But yeah, just, you know, if you want to change your life, it's possible. Like anything is totally possible.
Well, Britt, thank you so much for sharing your stories, your adventures, your life insights. I mean, and truly inspiring anybody who might be listening to this right now who might be thinking of doing the same thing. So, I mean, loved hearing about all your travels and your family business. So we wish you all the best in your new venture. And if you want to plug in the website where people can go.
Do I just say it or?
Yeah, just say it. But I have it down here.
Darkside.rv.com. And I designed that website. So, you know, if you have any comments about that.
It's cute. It's really cute.
Anybody design your website.
I don't know if the audio broke up, but Britt said darksskyrv.com. I'm 8 hours and 8 minutes away. I'm already planning. So
yes, Arvin, come visit. And Leslie.
Yes, I know. I gotta maybe get an RV, or maybe we'll just come in our Honda Odyssey if that's okay.
You can rent one, dude. Low commitment.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the film festival sounds wonderful, so that would be great to come during then.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and thank you for bringing light to, you know, parents who are really doing awesome things, just like you guys, and you know, who are not caught up in the heaviness of life and who are just kind of doing their thing and setting good examples as best they can for their kids.
Yeah. And if and when you write that book, let us know.
Okay.
We'd love to read it.
Either way, we're gonna have to catch up again and see where you take your resort and the other endeavors between you and your husband. And there'll be more. I feel like you guys are in a growing trajectory right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a wonderful show.
Please tell the family and Jeff hi.
I will. Yeah. Say hello to your families. I don't really know them much, but
well, you will soon.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks, Britt.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, I know. I just want to have an adventure now.
I know. Go. I'm so inspired. But that was really great. And I think it's always great to just learn about other people's lives, how they live it, and just be inspired and reminded that, you know, living your life a certain way is not always, you don't always have to live it that way. You can.
Yeah, there's other ways of living. You know, it's always refreshing to see someone who's doing it totally different than myself and re-examine, just question like the way I'm doing things.
Exactly.
So it's really refreshing.
Well, I guess before we sign off, we just want to thank everybody who gave us a like, sent us some love. I see that quite a few people did watch us live or subscribe to our Snapchat channel. And if you want to see any more in the future, please make sure to subscribe on our Facebook or YouTube. And we also have a podcast as well.
Yeah. And if you have a topic you'd like to explore or challenge with us, please reach out to us on all the various social media outlets, and we would love to connect.
Well, till next time, we'll see you on our next Snapchats. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.